The shove was so sudden that Emily almost lost her balance. "Get out!" Daniel Carter's voice was cold, sharp, and final. The rain outside the Seattle house was crashing against the windows, thunder rumbling in the distance. But the silence inside the living room felt even heavier. Emily stood frozen near the door, staring at the man she had loved for 4 years. "Daniel, please," she said softly, trying to steady herself after the push. "We can talk about this." But Daniel didn't even look at her. He walked toward the kitchen counter, grabbed his phone, and checked a message like the moment meant nothing. "I already told you," he said. "I'm done." Emily felt her chest tighten. Just an hour ago, they were eating dinner, talking about the future, laughing. Then suddenly everything changed. "Where is this coming from?" she asked quietly. Daniel laughed under his breath. "Where?" he repeated. "It's been coming for years." Emily shook her head. "That's not true." But Daniel turned and looked at her with a cold expression she had never seen before. "Yes, it is." He walked closer. "Look around this house, Emily." She did. The modern glass walls, the expensive furniture, the city lights glowing outside. Everything here existed because Daniel's startup had just received a massive investment. $3 million. Overnight, Daniel Carter went from struggling entrepreneur to rising tech star in Seattle. And now, something about him had changed. "You think this life happened because of you?" Daniel asked. Emily blinked. "I never said that, but you act like it," Daniel snapped. "I supported you," Emily replied. "That's all." Daniel scoffed. "Supported me? You mean sitting at home working on those silly little ideas of yours?" Emily's heart dropped. Her ideas, the small business concept she had been developing quietly for years. She never bragged about it. She never even asked Daniel for money to build it. She just believed in it. But to Daniel, it was nothing. "You don't understand business," he continued. "You don't have connections. You don't have ambition." Emily stared at him in disbelief. "For 4 years I believed in you when nobody else did." Daniel shrugged. "Congratulations. That doesn't mean you belong in my future." The words hit harder than the shove. Emily felt tears building, but she refused to cry. "So that's it?" she asked. Daniel walked to the front door and opened it. Cold rain blew inside. "Yes," he said. Emily's voice trembled. "Daniel, it's pouring outside." He looked at her like it didn't matter. "That sounds like a you problem." Emily stood there stunned. 4 years together. 4 years of building a life, and it was ending like this. Daniel reached into his wallet. He pulled out a crumpled bill. Then he tossed it onto the table near the door. "Take it." Emily looked down. $20. For a second, she thought she misunderstood. "Daniel, that should cover a cab," he said impatiently. Emily's hands began shaking. Not because of the money, but because of what it meant. Her entire marriage had just been reduced to $20. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked quietly. Daniel stepped aside from the door. "I don't care." The rain outside poured harder. Emily slowly picked up the $20 bill from the table. Her fingers were trembling. She looked at Daniel one last time, the man she once believed would protect her forever. "One day," she said softly, "you might regret this." Daniel laughed, not nervously, confidently, like a man absolutely certain of his power. "I doubt it." Emily nodded once. Then she stepped outside into the rain. Daniel didn't even watch her leave. He simply closed the door. The sound of the door shutting echoed through the house. And just like that, Emily Carter's old life ended. The rain soaked through her coat within seconds. She had no car, no apartment, no plan, just $20 and a broken heart. She walked down the quiet street under the dim glow of streetlights. Cars passed occasionally, splashing water from the road. After nearly 30 minutes of walking, she found a small cafe still open. The warm yellow lights inside felt like safety. She stepped in quietly. The barista glanced at her soaked clothes but didn't ask questions. "What can I get you?" he asked kindly. Emily looked at the menu. Her eyes stopped on the cheapest item. "Small coffee," she said. $3. She paid with the 20. Then she sat near the window while rain streaked across the glass. Her mind replayed Daniel's words again and again. Useless. Holding me back. Nothing. For a moment, doubt crept in. What if he was right? But then she remembered something important. Before Daniel, before the marriage, before she sacrificed her time helping him build his dream, Emily had her own dream. A small one, but real. She opened her bag and pulled out her laptop. The screen flickered to life. A half-finished business plan appeared. An idea she started years ago. A platform designed to help small creators sell digital products online. At the time, it seemed too ambitious, too difficult. But tonight, it was all she had left. Emily wiped the last tear from her face. Then she whispered quietly to herself, "Okay. If I have to start over, I will." She worked all night, researching, planning, rewriting. The barista brought her a free cup of coffee around midnight, after noticing she hadn't moved for hours. "Long night?" he asked. Emily smiled faintly. "Long future." Morning eventually arrived. The rain stopped. The city woke up, and Emily Carter walked out of that cafe with $17 in her pocket, and the first step toward building a future Daniel Carter would never imagine. 10 years later, a black luxury car pulled up in front of a tall glass building in downtown Seattle. The building stretched 15 floors into the sky. Silver letters near the entrance read, "Carter Innovations." Employees rushed in and out of the lobby. Investors arrived carrying briefcases. Assistants hurried across the marble floors. At the top floor of the building was a spacious corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire Seattle skyline. Inside that office stood Emily Carter, but she was very different from the woman who once stood in the rain with $20. Her posture was confident, her voice calm as she ended a phone call with international investors. "Yes," she said. "We'll finalize the expansion next quarter." She ended the call and looked out at the city. 10 years of sleepless nights, 10 years of risk, failure, and relentless work. But now Carter Innovations was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Her assistant knocked lightly. "Ms. Carter," she said. "Yes, there's someone downstairs asking to see you." Emily turned. "Do they have an appointment?" "No," the assistant replied. "But he says he's desperate." Emily sighed slightly. "What's his name?" The assistant looked at her tablet. "Daniel Carter." The room went completely silent. Memories surfaced instantly. The rain, the shove, the $20. Emily's face remained calm. "What does he want?" she asked. The assistant hesitated. "He said he needs a job." Emily looked out at the skyline again. 10 years ago, she stood in the rain with nothing. Now the man who threw her away was standing in her lobby asking for help. Emily spoke quietly. "Send him up." Downstairs, the elevator doors slowly opened. Daniel Carter stepped inside. 10 years had changed everything. His expensive suits were gone. His confidence had faded. His company collapsed years ago after bad investments and betrayal from partners. Now he stood in a worn jacket, holding a thin folder containing his resume. As the elevator rose floor by floor, his hands trembled slightly. When he discovered that Carter Innovations belonged to Emily, he couldn't believe it. The woman he once called useless had built an empire, and now he was here asking for a job. The elevator reached the 15th floor. The doors opened. A receptionist looked up. "Mr. Carter?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, Ms. Carter will see you now." Daniel slowly walked down the quiet hallway toward the office at the end. When he reached the door, he saw the silver nameplate. Emily Carter, Chief Executive Officer. He knocked. "Come in," a calm voice said. Daniel opened the door. Emily stood near the window, the Seattle skyline glowing behind her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Daniel finally said quietly, "You look successful." Emily gestured to the chair. "Sit." Daniel sat down slowly. He placed the resume on her desk. "I heard you're hiring." Emily glanced at it. "Why should I hire you?" "I made mistakes." Emily waited. "Taught me something." "What?" "That I was wrong about you." Emily studied his face carefully. 10 years ago, he was arrogant, broken. "I need a chance to start again," he said quietly. The city stretched below them. "Do you remember the last thing I said before I left?" she asked. Daniel shook his head. "I said you might regret it." "I do." Emily turned. Daniel looked hopeful, but Emily continued. "That doesn't mean I forgot. I can't hire you." Daniel's shoulders dropped. "But," Emily said calmly, "that doesn't mean your life is over." She handed him a business card. "A startup accelerator we fund. They help people rebuild." Daniel looked at the card quietly. "You're still smart," Emily said. "You just lost your way." Daniel stood. "I understand." He walked toward the door, then paused. "I really am sorry, Emily." Emily nodded once. "Goodbye, Daniel." He left the office quietly. Emily walked back to the window. Below, Daniel stepped out into the busy street. Just another man starting from zero. But this time, his future would depend on his own choices. And 15 floors above him, the woman he once threw into the rain continued building the empire he never believed she could create. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't anger. Sometimes it's success.